Thank you, Taker. Thank you, Taker. Thank you, Taker. Thank you, Taker. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Distraction here on Fightful.com. I am Jeremy Lambert, joined, as always, by the phenom, Joseph Hulbert. Joe, how are you?
That was so much funnier than I ever could imagine it being. Oh my goodness. I don't know what you're thanking him for, Jeremy. I've told you he was not on our podcast. I checked last night. On Tuesday I was unsure. I thought he may have came on and we'd forgotten it. He has not been on our podcast. I can confirm. Never been on. What are you thanking him for, possibly?
Ricky Starks was on our podcast.
True.
So he gave us a great Undertaker story.
Oh God. I really hope our audience laughed as much as I just did, because that was one of the funniest. I don't know. Maybe it's funny to me because I'm remembering that they actually had guys do this on television. But man, you went for it. I really admired that. That was tremendous. But yes, I'm here and I'm ready to talk about professional wrestling, Jeremy. That's what I'm told we're talking about today, and I'm ready.
We're going to talk about The Undertaker. We're going to share our favorite Undertaker memories. The 30 years. Feels like 30 decades.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
30 years of digging holes, taking souls.
Wow.
Whatever he did for 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. He rode like motorbikes too. He did that. Yeah. Remember that? Yeah. He's cool. We can talk about him, but are we going to talk about well, I'm going to make an announcement. I'm going to come forward now. There's a lot of things to discuss this week, guys. I have a scoop that is no longer a scoop, but we're going to get into that. But more importantly, I have changed teams, right, Jeremy? I've been traded to the Impact.
That's true.
I was going to try and come up with a name for them as like a sports franchise, and it's just like the Impacts. That's what they are. The Total Impacts, right? That's what they are. So I've changed team. We're going to get into that today. There's a lot of big stories coming. Would you agree with that, Jeremy? And there's a ratings thing, right? There's a ratings. We're going to break the news later, even though by the time people watch this, the news will be out there. We're going to break it live on The Distraction.
We got plenty of trades to talk about. You being traded to Impact, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode being traded to Raw to complete the AJ Styles trade. It's Thursday. We talk the wrestling on Thursday. We put 5 minutes on the clock. We always go over time. We always get off topic. That's pretty much the show. It's called The Distraction for a reason. As always, we left plenty of topics on the cutting room floor. That's why, but Joseph is fired up with the topics we do have. Yeah. Imagine what was left on the cutting room floor, everybody. The Distraction, trending worldwide, #1 right now. Everyone check it out. You're not pointing to anything. You have to point like that way. There you go. There. Yeah, there you go. The Distraction. Use the hashtag, The Distraction. Join the conversation, even though we're not live. Let's get into it, Joseph. Let's put 5 minutes on the clock. Let's talk about The Undertaker. Give me your favorite Undertaker memory in his 30 decades of destruction.
Okay, look. This is. I'm going to be honest and sincere to start with this topic. The Shawn Michaels matches are great. The Kurt Angle match from a pay-per-view in 2006 is also great. However, I will forever hold dear the classic, the Clash of the Titans that he had with Billy Goldberg. Listen, I'm just being honest about this, guys, and I'm all for, if you're someone that's better than me and you're concerned about their safety when they did this match, better human than me. That is one of the funniest things I've ever watched in my whole life. And I mean that with all love to both men, particularly one of them. I respect The Undertaker, but the idea that with a hip replacement, The Undertaker entered a ring in Saudi Arabia to wrestle a man that drives his head against doors and hopes he isn't concussed before the bell rings is like peak wrestling to me. It never gets better than that. So that is genuinely probably my favourite moment. And he's also given us some Yokozuna stories over the last week, so I appreciate him for that. Other than that, take it or leave it for me. That's just my view on the guy, okay? Cool documentary series, though. I liked it a lot.
Xavier Woods, I think he says it on... Maybe he said it on an Up, On, Down, Down, one of the shows that he does. And he's basically like, I don't want my wrestling good. Either give me terrible wrestling or give me incredible wrestling. He's like, I can go watch a good match anytime. I want it to be incredible or I want it to be terrible. And when you said like the Undertaker Goldberg like stands out, like yes, it stands out because it's just absolutely terrible, but that's why it's memorable. I remember texting my friend after this match who is a lapsed fan doesn't watch it anymore. But I texted him, I was like, you gotta watch this Undertaker Goldberg match. Like, you just have to. And usually when I text him this stuff, I tell him like, oh yeah, this is this really great match. It's like 45 minutes long or something. He's like, I'm not gonna watch this 45-minute match. I was like, this match is like 7 minutes, dude. You have to just watch this whole thing. And we watched it together on certain type of medicine, and we just cracked up the entire time while watching this match together. It was amazing to watch this match back, because I'd watched it live, and I don't think I'd watched it since then. So watching it back, it's so much better the second time around for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, it's like I often hear people say, if you could like relive one moment as a fan, they like have these like epic. Oh, like, you know, when The Rock did this or when else did... Like, the seconds that went by as Bill prepared to jackhammer The Undertaker is, like, the most riveting thing. I remember just sitting there thinking, oh, my God, he's actually about to do this. And it was almost like slow motion, right? Because Taker went up, and then as soon as he started going up, he was coming down real sudden. So it was just an incredible package of entertainment. The way that Taker looked at the camera after the end of the match, the choke slam, all of it. It was just, look, I'm sorry, I love it. And better than any of it is that now on his epic documentary series, The Last Ride, $9.99, don't really know it. He like talks about the Goldberg match like it was like a war, like it was like Vietnam. He's like, that match in Saudi Arabia, like I could have died. And he never says Goldberg's name, I don't think. He just says that match in Saudi Arabia. I'd love to know what Goldberg thinks as he's like spoken about. Like he's just like a weapon of mass destruction, basically. Like he's just like, he literally says at one point, he's like, I could have left my kids fatherless with that match in Saudi Arabia. It's like, Jesus, it really was that bad, wasn't it? Amazing stuff. I love it, I must say.
They didn't even get Goldberg to be a talking head for that bit. Like they couldn't even
cut. I'm convinced he got him taken off it because they spoke to everyone. Right?
Yeah.
We were even on there at one point, I think. I mean, we showed up talking about something. So everyone was on it. Why? I mean, I'm sure Goldberg must have got cut. Taker must have done the full like Jordan deal with that, right? No Goldberg.
They really should have gone full Jordan. It's like they play Taker or Goldberg's comments, and they have Taker looking at the iPad, checking out what Goldberg has to say, and Taker just reacts. Goldberg is like, tried my best in that one, you know, and then Taker just gives a look like. That's what they should have done with that. That was one missed thing that they didn't do on this documentary that they 100% should have, is played comments from other people. But see, the problem is, like Jordan, they played comments with like Gary Payton, Isaiah Thomas and stuff, people who don't like Jordan. Everyone just like praised Taker during this. There was no like mean, disparaging like they didn't have Giant Gonzalez come out here and be like, yeah, he couldn't work, like I hated that match with him. Like that's what they needed in this documentary, the other perspective of people who just don't like Undertaker.
Look, I have to say, I know that I'm playing cool guy right now, and I'm laughing, I'm poking fun at Mr. Taker. I know that's very mean of me. I want to make it clear, I actually felt a little bit like I was like on my own on the documentary, because I saw a lot of people poking fun at it. I actually thought it was amazing. Like, I honestly thought it was an incredible piece of work. I thought it was the best thing they had made on the network to this point, I would say, is pretty fair to say, right? So I have no problem with it. The closing stretch was epic. Like, I know that we spoke about this off air, but the quote he gives is like very kind of, it's a little bit half-hearted, right? He's like, yeah, I'm probably done, but then again, maybe not. But watching it as a documentary piece, it was pretty epic, right? They had the shots of him kind of, you know, riding off into the sunset almost. So I loved it. It was cool. I'd like to see more stuff like that. I just have fun with some of the content it brings, really. There's always fun when it's a documentary about a man that played a zombie, like just being like straight-laced as possible about his profession. And I respect that. It's funny from the start. Just as a concept, it's funny to me.
It was the best thing on the network until the Ricochet 365 comes out, and that'll 100% surpass whatever the Undertaker documentary was.
No comment. Don't send me clips of that thing. Don't tell me about it. Very insulted by that whole project and think it was a direct shot at me and this podcast. I'm gonna tell you that now. But anyway, seriously now, Jeremy. This remove all the silliness. Favorite Taker match? What is it?
The Shawn matches. I mean, pick one, honestly, but probably the WrestleMania 25 match is my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. If you got a favorite Taker, my favorite Taker is actually that like when he got older and he basically just realised, like, okay, I can now have great matches and not worry about like exposing the zombie part of my character, you know, like where he kind of like I always think the late noughties Taker is like he allowed himself just to have great matches. He wasn't so worried about, you know, move slow here, sell less here. He just had great matches. I think that was actually the most I've enjoyed it, I would say.
Yeah, I was never like a huge Undertaker fan growing up during like the Attitude Era and things like that. So I wasn't, and his wrestling at the time wasn't very good either.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Shawn matches at WrestleMania, both of them really, like I love 26 as well. So both the Shawn matches are probably my favorite, but the Bad Blood Hell in a Cell match is really good as well. The Brett match at SummerSlam, I'm sure you love that match. That's a really good match. So, look, Taker's had some good matches, which I would hope so.
Yes.
After 30 years, he would have some good matches.
Big praise from you there. Yeah. Taker's had some good matches. Correct. Yes, he has. Yes.
You know what's a good match is the Brock match, the Hell in a Cell matches.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them are really good.
Yes, the one thing I'll say for Taker is every wrestler, when they give an interview, like, they frame themselves as the smartest wrestler ever, right? Like, they'll tell you how they worked, and then you watch their matches, you're like, well, not really. Look, man, for better or worse, Taker legit did that deal where he just didn't move quick at all for most of his first, like, decade worth of matches. Like, he legitimately did that deal where he would move side and do, like, one thing. He's not kind of, like, painting a different picture in reality. He actually did that, and it resulted in a lot of matches that are not super fun to watch, but he was trying to get the character over, right? Like, that was a big thing, especially back then in WWF. I remember someone told us about Jake doing that. Jake Roberts, he like had good matches, and Vince was like, what are you doing? He was like, I don't know, that was what I was supposed to do, right? And he said, no, the character. It was different, and as it changed, he evolved. But I agree with you, the biker thing is interesting, because I like that character, but his matches, generally speaking, are not great in a lot of that time, right? Like, the latter end of it, perhaps, when he was Booger Red. You know that hilarious run where he was Booger Red? You had the Jeff match, that Brock match you mentioned. But initially when he came back, man, there's a lot of tough outings in that time. He's had an interesting career. He's a one-off. He's a one character for 30 years. He's a unique guy, right?
I think it's unfair to say he was one character for 30 years. I mean...
Look,
the American Badass is not the dead man, okay?
Yeah, but he still, you know, he was... I guess he didn't do any magical stuff when he was the biker, did he? I can't remember.
Not that he caused the bike to not start for Hulk Hogan. That was pretty magical.
But I didn't mean it as like a... that was tremendous. I didn't mean it as like a criticism. I mean, he's unique in that, like, he had to change because he was just stuck in one place doing the same character. Right. So, I mean, like, he had to evolve. So... He has a weird career because he was like the standard bearer for multiple decades without ever being like the single top guy. He's just an odd one. He's an odd case. But the documentary was great. I'm actually thinking he's retired, Jeremy. I know you laugh at me, you poke fun. I think he's actually done. I think he's finished. It's over. I don't think people are going to be back in the building for at least another 12 years. So I don't think he's going to have much choice. but I think he's done.
I mean, that's fair. If we don't have fans for 12 years, then it's probably not coming back.
In that case, this podcast is done. Just so you know, it's finished.
I think he'll wrestle at least one more match.
Okay,
at least
Survivor Series?
I still maintain if they have fans at Survivor Series, you do the 30-year anniversary, you do a traditional Survivor Series match with him in it. He loses, he actually puts someone over, and that's the end of it. You know, people don't want Undertaker to lose, but like, if you really love this business, Mark, you put someone over on your way out.
It's a we business, not a me business, right?
That's what I hear. Right.
So here, you know, I'm with you. I do think one thing that's interesting is when they do his Hall of Fame deal, because he's doing that now, right? For the longest time, it was like, maybe Taker just won't do it. No, he'll add an eight-part documentary series. He'll do the Hall of Fame induction. Do they just, like, make the whole induction ceremony Undertaker? Because they could have, like, multiple different speeches, couldn't they, you know? They could have Kane, they could have Triple H, Shawn, Big Show, whoever else you want to choose, I don't care. But I wonder almost if now they've elevated him to such a level, it would almost be ridiculous to send him out there after, like, I'm not going to name any names, I don't want to be disparaging. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be different, wouldn't it, if Taker went in? It feels very different to me.
Yeah, but I mean, they had people before Austin and Hogan and everything.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
they're bigger stars than the Undertaker. But you're right in that like they've put Undertaker on such a pedestal now that it would feel weird. I do think whenever he goes into the Hall of Fame, like it's not going to be next year. I assume next year's Hall of Fame is just going to be what this year's Hall of Fame was supposed to be. So 2 years from now, by that point, who knows where the Undertaker fandom is really going to be. They could probably just... I don't think they're going to need like this big headline, like a big co-headlining act with him. I think they can get away with just, all right, let's put in some mid-carders that we're still on good terms with, and people are just going to be here to see The Undertaker anyway. We can save one of these other headliners for the following year.
That makes sense. I mean, I just find it interesting in the sense that, like, I assume Kane would be the guy that inducts him. But after you've shown me 8 hours of people talking about how great he is, I'm almost underwhelmed by that. You know, like the idea of just sending Kane out there with a bit of paper and being like, "Yep, I'm putting the Undertaker into my books." Like, I don't know. It's just that's the only part of it that's interests me. But I'm with you. Bigger stars have gone in that way. It's just fair.
Here's who inducts him, Joseph.
Okay.
I was gonna say Triple H as a joke. Vince McMahon.
Maybe. I mean, he hates the Hall of Fame deal, though, right? Being like front and center. Yeah, so I don't know.
But I think if there's one person who can like pull him out of that, it would be Undertaker. And he would give, like, I don't know if his induction speech is going to be long, but I think maybe you can pull Vince to do the induction speech for him.
Look, man, there's a time where that would have been a very interesting watch. I'm not sure Vince has much of an induction speech left in him, I've got to say. But either way, I sense that for a range of reasons that the kind of Taker fandom has become very unique now, because a lot of people that I follow and such on social media are just totally done with all Taker talk. They're finished. I'm sure it's the same for you. But I did see a lot of sincere love, and that's cool because he has been, like, it's very cliche to be like, he's a once ever guy. But let's be honest, the Undertaker thing is like, it's never happening again. They're never going to come up with a gimmick that wild and it will go over the way that one did for as long as it did. So I'm actually all for just celebrating him now, you know, like just do it now, and we'll watch the documentary or not if you don't want to watch it. But I'm for more stuff like this. I don't want to say more than the 365 stuff because I enjoy current superstar stuff. But at the same time, how are we going to be able to watch this Ricochet deal and think it's any kind of sincere filmmaking? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's almost better to do this stuff in retrospect because you can just paint the narrative as such. Whereas Ricochet, we're living it. He's doing nothing on television right now. Well, how are they going to do that kind of deal? So I'm almost for more legend-based stuff or like guys at the tail end of their career than I am the current stuff at this point.
Ricochet 365 is going to be amazing. It's going to start off with the Great Saudi match against Brock Lesnar and just go down to him wrestling now on main event. He was on Raw this week. I think that happened.
He wrestled Big Van Bob Lashley, who they had like a Clash of Champions thriller on Monday Night Raw. It was awesome. I loved it. Bobby's on fire. I don't know what they're doing with Bob. I really don't understand the Bob scenario. But he's tremendous. He's my favourite wrestler right now. Did I tell you this? Remember about 12 years ago, Jeremy, when we used to do a segment where I'd name my favourite wrestlers?
Yes.
It's not coming back, but Bob is top of it. I want you to know that.
Okay. Let's move on to Raw. Let's talk about two more of your favourite wrestlers.
Oh.
Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode were traded. What did you think we were talking about? Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode were traded to Raw as part of the AJ Styles trade. Like, I came on here a couple weeks ago on the AJ Styles trade and said Paul Heyman got fired because he traded AJ for future considerations, and then we didn't know what that was going to be. I stand by that. This is a bad trade, Joe. Terrible trade. Roode can't even get into the country. You don't even know when you're going to be able to utilize him. It took a month to complete this deal. He just gave AJ away for a full month. He could have used him for that full month. Terrible trade. Hate it.
I don't love some of the details. I admit that the Roode element is concerning. I agree that he probably should have got the trade done before he sent AJ to the other brand. That's probably an element they should, whoever this is doing these deals at this point, they should keep that in mind in future. However, you're way off. You're way off. Because if you combined the Roode and the Ziggler together, you get the AJ Styles. The only difference is you have two men, not one. This is the truth. I'm going to break this down for you. Okay. Awesome bump taking. Check. Dolph has us covered.
I thought you were going to say Roode.
Historic dominance in total non-stop action. Check. Bob Roode has us covered. Good hair. They can do half each of that one. You know what I'm saying? That's tough. Funny taunts. AJ's like glove thing is like 10% as good as Bobby Roode. Just doing the glorious at every turn possible. Everything AJ does well. If I combine the Roode and Ziggler, they do it well too. So, to me, this is a no-brainer. This is a home run, Jeremy, is what I'm saying. Because here's what you miss. You're thinking of Bob Roode and Dolph Ziggler as what they were in the SmackDown offense. Okay? Roode barely got minutes. Dolph was like a sixth-man spark plug guy. That is not the plans here on Raw, let me tell you. I have actually been told, sources say, the ball is going in Bob Roode's hands. He'll be running this offense by the fall of 2020. I want you to know this, Jeremy, because this is hot news, okay? Bob Roode, Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, famously put the ball in that man's hands in the 2012 NBA Finals, known as the Impact Zone. True or false, okay? And he led them to glory. And now, granted, he didn't win anything, but he certainly was great in that role. It's coming back, because Bob still can do it. Bruce is in position to let him do it. We're off and running. You won't even think of AJ in just a few mere months. Give it time. Let the guys settle. This will be a great trade, I promise.
I like your point that in the Raw offense, they could be better utilized. Like the SmackDown offense, Roode, the problem is we don't know when Roode is going to show up.
True.
So we don't know when he's going to have the ball. You said fall. I feel like you're being optimistic that he's going to be there for the fall. But we've already seen with Ziggler, like they're already putting the ball in Ziggler's hands now.
Yes.
Ziggler on SmackDown, 6th, 7th guy coming off the bench, like just is a good role player, good spot up shooter. That's what he would do on SmackDown. On Raw though, this is your starting shooting guard. This is the guy who's getting you buckets right now. Like you got McIntyre, you're building around him, you're running the offense around him. But Ziggler, the dribble handoffs are coming. He's getting others involved as well. He's running the pick and roll. They're putting the ball in his hands. They're utilizing him more than just a spot up shooter. I don't know if it's working, but you're right that there's certainly they're utilizing him more in this Raw offense. The problem is, I just don't think he's the guy that you want in this role. I don't think Dolph Ziggler's the guy that you want to be featured in your offense. It's like the Detroit Pistons, Joseph. All right, you got Reggie Jackson. Sure, you could feature him. Is that who you really want to feature?
No, that's disgusting. That's wrong. I will not stand by and hear that. Get the Reggie Jackson out, okay? I'm with you. Here's the problem, Drew, and this is what you're forgetting. AJ wasn't a good fit in the Monday Night Raw offense. It never really worked, right? Him and Ricochet, weird chemistry clash we didn't expect. It didn't quite fit. This is better for everyone. Dolph is closing out games for them now, hitting big shots down the stretch. This is good for all involved. And this is what happens when one man can GM 2 different franchises. Everyone's helped by this, you see. But I must say, I do love that, so the idea of the brand split is they're 2 separate entities and, they can exist in their own universe. The fact that they actually believe that we see it that way is insane. Right? Dolph, when was the last time Dolph won a match on SmackDown? He lost to Otis every time I looked at the screen. He was getting pinned by that Caterpillar deal. And now he's going to feud with Drew McIntyre. They actually think that there's a Raw audience separate. Oh yeah, where's Dolph been, man? Great to have him back on Monday Night Raw. I love it. I almost admire the optimism in that sense. They didn't even heat Dolph up. He just came out and was like, can I have a title match? Drew said, yes you can. So I'm sure the match will be good. The thing with Dolph matches is the dynamic has always been the crowd doesn't think he's going to win. You don't have to worry about it here because there is really no crowd. So you can just have the match you want to have, and I'm sure it will be good because Dolph is good. It's just, oh man, it's Super B pay-per-view, right? It screams filler, unfortunately.
Dolph wants to have a 30 to 40 minute match with McIntyre, and I
100%.
Don't know if this is a good idea.
I think he's going to do an Iron Man because he can pick the stipulation, right?
Yes.
That was the thing. Honestly, think in his mind, I'm not saying he's the one picking this, but creatively speaking, this is his only chance at ever doing an Iron Man match and not having the crowd do the 10, 9, 8, 7. He can actually just do the Iron match he wants, and who cares what the reviewers think? There's no crowd. Right? He can just have whatever he wants, have fun. It'll probably be a tough watch. I assume for me it would.
An hour-long Dolph Ziggler Drew McIntyre match in front of nobody. Yeah,
Wow.
that screams order the network.
I'm imagining Dolph like assuming he's gonna get like the special camera cuts that Randall and Edge got. He's like, why don't we do a 90-minute match and we'll just like reshoot it? And then Bruce is like, sure, whatever you want. I don't know. I hope it goes well. I'm tired of the Dolph slander. I don't like the Dolph slander. I've never liked it, Jeremy. You know that. I always fight the defense of the Dolph, and I hope this goes well because, man, it's been anytime he gets slotted in one of these positions, it often ends up in very sad results. So I hope it's different this time at least.
We'll see. Extreme Rules. I think that's the name of the show. Horror
House
Show.
of Horrors.
The Horror Show. No, you're wrong.
Sorry.
It's the Horror Show.
What's House of Horrors? That was a Bray Wyatt match, wasn't it?
Wasn't that? Oh, that was Chamber of Horrors, the WCW gimmick way back when.
Way too awesome for this discussion.
Yeah.
Way too
Yeah,
awesome.
House of Horrors, I think, was a Bray Wyatt. I mean, this is the Horror Show because they're doing a swamp fight with Bray and Braun Strowman. That'll be something, I'm sure.
Oh, man. This show sounds terrible.
Not once they do the Dolph and McIntyre Iron Man match. Then you're going to be all in on this show.
That would not even be like a bottom 3 worst thing on this show. By the time they're done with this show, that would be one of the highlights, even if it is a legitimate 90-minute match. I promise you. I guarantee it. But anyway, what's next on this incredible list of topics that we've compiled here?
You broke some news last week,
yes.
Joseph. Alexa Bliss, you were the first person to announce that Alexa Bliss
world.
was getting
In the whole world, the first person.
That Alexa Bliss is getting her own podcast called Uncool with Alexa Bliss. You put this out there on Twitter. It seemed to go under the radar for some reason, but I messaged you and I said, you broke this news. And then she confirmed the news, and I wrote the article giving you. I give you credit, and you still act like I didn't give you any credit.
I wanted
for this.
more.
Yeah, well, I keep giving you credit. I tweeted it again the other day when she was on the Bump or whatever the 300 shows that they have. So you've gotten your credit from me. I cannot help it if WWE won't give you credit and all these other places won't give you credit. I did my part for you.
You did. I'm a little bit alarmed. I felt I was climbing the ladder here in this industry. I really did, Jeremy. I thought I was on a fast track to superstardom in the wrestling media world. It seems I have not got the respect of my peers yet. I really felt I deserved a lot more kind of action on that tweet. I was way ahead of the time on that. Wrestling podcasts. Who needs them, right, Jeremy? Imagine starting a new wrestling podcast in 2020. What are you, crazy? Who's going to listen to that? Everyone has a podcast nowadays, don't they, Jeremy? I would never do something like that. So self-obsessed to start a podcast in which you talk as someone in wrestling. Just terrible. I hate it.
I don't think she's talking to people in wrestling. She's talking about how she's going to interview all the people she had a crush on growing up in the 90s. Yeah. Like, that's who she's going to talk. That's who she's going to talk to. She's going to have NSYNC members on the show. Probably not Justin Timberlake. But, hey, if she gets Justin Timberlake, more power to her.
Look, man, I'm probably not the demographic for this podcast. And I know that's going to shock our audience, who is like, they can't believe I've just said that. I'm all for the wrestlers doing their own stuff. Now, this is not really doing your own stuff because it's like 100% WWE. It still is neat, though, right? I guess. Kind of. You like the New Day podcast. I've never listened to any of these podcasts. I probably never will, which is honest. But I'm told that they are allowed to have fun and do their thing, and that's cool to me. I'm happy with people that are talented enough doing other stuff because it's professional wrestling, folks. I hate to break it to you. It doesn't seem like a great industry to be in at times, does it, Jeremy? It really doesn't. So I'm always happy when people do just other little side ventures, and I'm sure this will be good for the people it's intended to be good for. That's my comment, and I'll go no further.
I agree with you. Like, I'm probably not going to listen to this show unless it's for work purposes, but it sounds like it's going to be, tell me about you growing up and how you were uncool in high school. Like, look.
I was too cool. I was too cool to go on this one.
That's why you're not going to be on this podcast.
She said, do you want to come on cool? I said, I was always cool. And there was never any more speaking on that. It was just, that was the end of the dialogue. Cut it off right there.
Why did you invite her on our podcast?
Well, I can't get into that. We're working on something right now that would effectively end this podcast, Jeremy. I didn't want to announce this on the air.
Oh, my God.
But we didn't want to kind of, we will announce that when she comes on to announce it, and we're ready to, when the deal is done. Because as you know, I'm always working on these things, Jeremy, and now you've kind of put me on the spot. This podcast will be ending in 2 weeks because I am starting a podcast for Alexa Bliss called a distraction. So I just want to be clear. Get out of the way now. I was going to do it in 2 weeks, but I'll do it now. New podcast coming. Sorry, Jeremy. I'm moving on. Okay, I'm moving on to brighter things. I'm sorry. I had to climb the ladder. You didn't credit me enough for this story.
You just said you hadn't climbed the ladder and you didn't have the respect of your peers.
But I have to now climb. Because I thought I was climbing and I've fallen again. So I have to climb back up, and this is the only way to do it. I've been turning her down on this podcast for 3 years now. She said, just do a podcast. And then you come on and I said, okay, I'll do it with Jeremy. Backfired. I thought you had more kind of, I don't know, man. I thought your reach was bigger in the rest of the media world.
Definitely not.
No. Oh, man. It backfired on me. It really did. I don't know. But WWE podcasts, good, right? They're fun. It's what you tell me, Jeremy.
I do enjoy the New Day podcast. It's them just being the New Day, and they're all
pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all entertaining, and so them, and it really does feel like they don't have many, if any, restrictions on that show. The Corey Graves podcast I have to listen to for work purposes. If I didn't have to listen to that for work purposes, I would not. Yeah, straight shooting.
Straight.
It actually wasn't bad early when Corey Graves would like give his opinion on stuff.
Just interviews now, right?
Yeah, and I guess he got told, look, we don't need you burying the product, so you're not allowed to give your opinion on anything. So yeah, now it's just like a straight interview thing, and it's like, all right, I gotta listen and transcribe stories. If I didn't have to do that, I would not care about this Sheamus interview where he just talks about stuff. Sorry, Sheamus, it's just not for me. The Alexa Bliss podcast, not really my demographic, and I'm sure I'll have to listen to some of it for work, but everyone should check out the New Day podcast. It is very good, and I'm sure they'll have more podcasts coming out very soon. Yes, I mean, they're gonna everyone's gonna have a podcast by the end, right? Yeah. You're gonna have like Wesley Blake's gonna have like Blake's banter or something, you know, and he's gonna have like you will be on that show. You will be on Blake's banter. I would be lead host of that show, in fact. Wesley would never talk on the show, but I'm here, Wesley Blake. Anyway, on to the news. And that would be the whole show. But, again, I know that, like, it's the cool thing to be like, WWE podcast, lame. Yeah, maybe they are a little lame. I don't know. I've never listened to any of them. But it's neat, right? I mean, the Woods up, down thing, I assume, is, like, an actual game changer for the wrestling talent, because he has shown that, like, he works within the system, but he has got something over on his own kind of deal. It's very interesting, that dynamic with up, down, right? Because it's a WWE thing, but he's smart enough to keep it isolated enough that he can have it on its own almost without being too tampered with, from what I can tell. Yeah, I don't know how much WWE it gets involved with that. I mean, obviously the talent is on the show, but they even have like Kylie Ray. I was rewatching some old stuff, and Kylie Ray's just sitting backstage playing games with them, and you know, she was never under contract with them, and it was just very odd to see her there. I love the Up Down Down series, and look, everyone watch Uno. That's my favorite thing. They should put that on Wednesday nights instead of NXT, and they would easily win the ratings war, because the Uno series is a million times better than WCW extra light. I've never watched it, but for your sake, I hope that when it ends, they produce like a 10-part documentary series detailing the ups and downs. No, I don't. Not for my sake, unless I'm involved. Unless I am involved. Yeah. I want you to produce the documentary. I have reached out to Xavier and been like, I want to write the oral history of Up Down Down Uno. I have shot my shot with him in the DMs. He ignores me. Anybody listening to this, please tag Xavier Woods and tell him to quit ignoring my DMs. I've only sent him one. I don't want to be like too pushy, but tell him to quit ignoring my DMs. Let me write the history of Up Down Down Uno. I'm very passionate about this. I love this series, and I think more people should love this series, and I want to write about it, and he just ignores me. Come on, Xavier. Come on, you should appreciate that I'm shooting my shot here, and I'm thinking outside the box and want to be this creative genius like you are. Let me create with you, Xavier. Let me create. We sound insane. We actually, there are people that have listened to the show from the start. They're like, man, they're finally broken. They're done. They're finished. Like we have gone. I don't even know what we've spoken about so far. I don't know how long we've been speaking, what about, when, why, whenever. All I know is I have a podcast with Alexa Bliss, you have one with Xavier Woods. That's what I took from that last segment. I'm pretty sure that's what we said. 2 weeks it starts. Anyway, Carol. Who's your Impact podcast with? Because Impact is you've been traded to Impact, or you've traded yourself. You requested a trade to Impact. We acquiesced the deal. Impact released Tessa Blanchard last week, and they have reportedly signed Gallows and Carl Anderson. Maybe they debut at Slammiversary. Maybe not. We'll see. But they are reportedly headed to Impact.
Yes, I don't have a podcast yet, but I am like, you know, when Kawhi Leonard was negotiating with teams, and like he would just have people that hang around with him that would all of a sudden be on the Clippers, like just for the sake of just to keep Kawhi happy. I am that in terms of fandom when Gallows and Anderson signed for a promotion. I just turn up at the promotion's doorsteps and the headquarters. You know, I'm here now, guys. I'm here. This is cool. We spoke ages ago about we wanted the talent to be spread, because the truth is, guys, I have to come clean on this. I have been doing a wrong act, a terribly evil act since the start of this podcast, Jeremy, because I have been joining in on the LOL TNA banter for too long. This is not my way, guys. I know that all the Impact fans are very frustrated because I just dismissed them, and I want to apologise. I'm changing my ways, and I will now watch the promotion, which is a daunting task for me because I don't know hardly anyone on the roster. But the Anderson and the Gallows are there. That's enough for me. And look, I hear the North are very good. So hopefully they have a good match with them. I hope Carl does some single stuff. All good fun. The point is, I am going to be watching the Impact Wrestling. Are you excited for me, Jeremy? Are you nervous for me? What's your reaction to this news?
I'm very excited for you, because at least somebody on this program will watch Impact and let us know how it goes. Like I watch Impact to do some new stuff for it. I like their women's division. I think Jordan Grace is very talented. I think Deonna Purrazzo, Taya Valkyrie, Kylie Ray, all of Kiera Hogan.
Rosemary?
Sure, Rosemary, Sue Young. Look at that. Look, we just named a bunch of the knockouts right there. They're all very talented. Yeah. I do like the North. Ethan Page is a very cool guy, and Josh Alexander. They're both. I haven't seen them wrestle in forever because they've been in Canada during the quarantine. But when they did wrestle, they were very good. Impact. People tell me it's great. There's just a lot of wrestling that I have to watch as is. So I don't always have time to give Impact my full attention. I barely give AEW and WWE my full attention. So Impact doesn't always get my full attention.
Yeah, I just, sometimes what happens is when we are folks last year and we have respected voices in this community, we too often, we take for granted our power. We just, Impact, huh? But I haven't watched Impact in 18 months. It's like, I'm being honest here and I'm not doing a bit. If you're an Impact fan and you think I've been a complete dick about the promotion, you are correct. I want to be clear. You are correct, because I have enjoyed Impact multiple times for its history. There's no need for me to be like, Impact. So I hope it's good. Some of the people that have left, I assume, will allow me to enjoy it more than I would have if I started watching 2 months ago. That's just a guess. I don't know. But Gallows and Anderson in AEW would have been a weird fit at this time because they're trying to do an FTR thing. And the story with Gallows and Anderson in AEW would be the Bucks dynamic, right? Because the Bullet Club and that whole pull of power. You can't do that right now. So this makes perfect sense. They get to work in America. It doesn't kill their New Japan deal. Everyone's happy. And I buy Slammiversary. So in fact, I'm not happy, but everyone else is happy about this news. So it's good. It sounds good to me.
I don't think Gallows and Anderson would fit in AEW at all right now because they have enough tag teams that they're failing on, which we'll get into here in a second. But yeah, I don't think that would have worked. I like them in Impact. I'm sure they'll do great in Impact. Anybody that, I mean, that's the joke in Impact. If you've been in WWE and you've had some success in WWE, you walk in Impact and you're just the world champion. I assume, like, they might put the world title on Carl Anderson. Right now, you're very excited for that.
Let's do that.
I mean, right now their options are Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, and I think Sami Callihan. I don't remember who's in this match.
Eddie Edwards is like Tommy Dreamer now, right?
Yeah.
Have I imagined this?
Tommy Dreamer cut this great promo on Tuesday.
Yeah, sure. Eddie Edwards. So I remember watching when Sami Callihan did that super dangerous deal, right, where he actually hurt him. Yeah. And then they did an angle with him and Tommy, and he's just now Tommy Dreamer, from what I can tell. Which is it's an approach to Eddie Edwards, sure. It seems like people feel he's got better as a character and such. Eddie Edwards is super talented. I don't know. He feels like one of those wrestlers that's like, I don't want to say lost in like the generation almost, but maybe he is. Because he's a great wrestler and has been for a really long time. But some guys fall through the cracks here in terms of the casual wrestling fan, whatever even that means at this point. I have no idea. But yeah, he's great. Hopefully he wins it, if not Carl Anderson. Or if I could win it, because I'm new on the team. Either way, I'm happy.
I think Trey is the other person in that match, not Sami Callihan, before some Impact fan yells at me. Yeah. Look, I'm fine if Eddie Edwards win it. Ace Austin, people seem to like him. Trey, I think he's good. So we'll see what they do at Slammiversary. Chances are EC3 will just come in and win the title. You're in on that, right?
Trouble. That's his theme, right? Trouble. That's his theme, right? I'm right about this, Jeremy, right? Jeremy, you don't know EC3's Impact? No. Okay. Everyone, I'll just send it to him. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything. This show will come out in like 4 hours. I don't know why I'm asking you to send him things that I could send him right now. Anyway, EC3 has an awesome theme in which the word trouble is just repeated over. He's awesome. I love EC3. By the way, before we move on, Tessa Blanchard, where do you stand on the riveting dialogue about which promotion will sign major draw, national, international sellout Tessa Blanchard? Where do you stand, Jeremy?
I think she ends up in WWE. I don't know if it's like they don't need her. They have enough talented women who don't have the reported attitude issues that she has. But I just assume that she ends up in WWE. I don't think AEW, she would be best off in AEW if you take away the backstage stuff and you're just like, all right, just talking about on screen, who does AEW need? Tessa Blanchard is perfect. The problem is I don't think they want to deal with that. And look, Tony Khan has set the precedent. He banned Linda Hogan. Mm-hmm. So you can't ban Linda Hogan and then bring in Tessa Blanchard and make her one of the stars of your show.
The thing, I agree with you. I actually think you're right, which is a bummer in itself. She's a gamble right now, right? She's like, roll with the dice. You take all the bad stuff because you think she's great wrestling. Cool. WWE 100% doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like you just touched on it in. They have so... I'm not saying she's not better than these women. I haven't watched enough of her to tell you if she is or isn't. What I'm saying is, with their machine, all of these are interchangeable at some point. Men, women, tag teams, because they do things the way they do TV, right? Like, the fact that Tessa can have a great 30-minute match, I mean, that would be useful to her in WWE, like, what, once every 4 years? Like, they're going to do the same thing they do with anyone. It's just, if they can't even get television time for some of these women, I don't know what need there is to gamble on Tessa. But, I mean, we'll see. What I will say is WWE don't need that extra negative PR, right? They've got enough as it is right now. I mean, none of them are exactly swimming in good PR at the moment, from what I can tell. But WWE definitely doesn't need an extra layer of bad. And that's what she would be at the minute. I'm with you. I assume she'll end up there eventually. But it's an interesting one. The way she left almost makes me think she has something, like, set. But then you ponder, what would that even be at this point? I don't know.
You know who's getting plenty of television time across all brands, men and women, in WWE, Joseph? The boss.
Wesley Blake?
The boss, Sasha Banks, and her best friend Bayley. The absolute stars of WWE right now. Joseph.
Yeah.
Look, I'm in on the boss. We've dropped. I'm no longer bowing down. We're not doing that anymore. I've stood up, got tired of bowing down. And it's boss time now.
I've stood up.
It's boss time now, Joseph.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, I'm happy for them. I preferred the act when the Iconics did it. But now that they're doing it, it's fine. No, look, this is an interesting conversation. If we actually, I mean, I'm not happy with you, and I want you to expand more on why you betrayed Queen. #bow down. However,
no, don't use that hashtag around me.
I'll use whatever hashtag I want on this podcast or any other. Okay, bow down is a part of this distraction. And by the way, on the TEW series, bow down is used for another 4 years. Yeah, so you cannot remove it from this podcast. Okay, that's the first thing. I think it is interesting. This goes all the way back to 2015, because listen, I know I have some fun on here. Anyone that tells you Banks wasn't better than Charlotte in that time is they're just insane. They're totally crazy. She was more popular. Her character was more defined. She had better matches. She had more momentum. And WWE just said, yeah, but no. And they was bow down. They went with Charlotte. And then they went back. They did the summer of 2016. Was obviously their long feud where they switched the belt back and forth. And the audience just wanted Sasha get the belt and move on. And they refused. It always went back to Charlotte, and then the feud ended with Charlotte as champ. And it's interesting to me. I have to say, I really think they're about to do it. I think they're actually about to commit to her, the legit boss, that is, Jeremy, the legit boss. It's boss time. I think they're about to commit to her as the face of the women's division. And I have to say, for all my fun and games, it will be very long overdue and well deserved. She seems to be in rhythm. The character has always been like branding genius. And I assume the Bayley term will actually make the character itself better. The matches have always been great, right? So I don't even like saying this because this feels like I'm just totally ruining my whole ongoing bit on this podcast. But like, if they squander it again, at what point do we just shut the promotion down? Do we just close it down? Just burn headquarters? I don't know what we do. At this point, you've committed all this time. Bayley has beaten every woman to grace SmackDown in the last decade, yeah? And like, it's all for this moment. The turn and then the title win for Banks. Do not blow it, please. This is the time to do it. Capitalise on what she can be.
It's a matter of when they're going to do it, because I fear that they're going to save it for SummerSlam 2021 when there are fans in the arena. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, they cannot keep stretching this out. I find the act entertaining. We see the faces, we see the layers. It's all great. You cannot keep stretching this and stretching it and stretching it. I just don't know how much more mileage you're going to be able to get out of this. I mean, maybe with the empty arena shows, you can get plenty of mileage because fans aren't just like, all right, let's do this. They're not groaning every time they're on screen. Maybe they're groaning at home.
Well,
but
speak for yourself.
So maybe you can, but like, you've got to pull the trigger on this at some point, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I don't think they're gonna do it at SummerSlam. I don't know why. I think they want to do it when fans can get into the arena. If they have plans in place, even if it's 30% capacity or whatever, then maybe they do it. I think they want to do it when there's actual fans there, and they don't want to do it in the empty Performance Center.
Okay, the problem with that is the tag titles opens up a whole other like realm of opportunities to delay it. The issue is they're doing them all like really quick, right?
Yeah.
Because I assume they're going to do a tag match with Asuka and Io. Is what I think they're doing, right? So I would guess. So in that case, like, they're going through every different opportunity the tag titles open up immediately. Like, they beat the Iconics. They got rid of that storyline of like the Iconics are a bad memory of theirs, killed dead. It's finished. It's over. She's now going to Raw. Banks is to become double champ. They're doing it already. The way they're booking is that they want to get on at SummerSlam. I'm with you. Here's my deal. Okay, so I think we both agree. Everyone agrees. The finish is going to be that Bayley accidentally stops Sasha from becoming double champ. Right? Would you agree that's most likely what's going to happen? I would assume.
I think Sasha's going to become double champ.
Okay. This is fine, because this is what I was going to say. Would it be interesting if post Extreme Rules, Bayley is the one with only one belt, and they switch them? Because I'm just saying, it doesn't work with Nikki Cross, because bless her heart, Nikki, they've not got her in position to do such a thing. But would it be interesting if after a classic match with Asuka, Sasha wins that match, Bayley somehow slips on a banana peel, loses her title, and it's like, all of a sudden roles are reversed. Is Bayley as happy to be in this team now that she's only got one belt? I don't know if that's feasible. I understand that's a lot of moving pieces. Then you're going to move both to Raw, etc., etc. As a storytelling direction, though, I actually think it would be pretty interesting, I must say.
You don't have to move them both to Raw. They're still the women's tag champs. They're just still on every show. So,
but I mean, like, if you wanted to do the program for the Raw title, then you would. But initially, yeah, you could keep them bouncing that ball. I don't know. I just want it to be interesting. That's all.
I mean, whatever. They just switch Sasha to Raw. If she becomes champion, she's on Raw. They can do some stupid thing where Bayley gets traded for expiring draft picks. They'll figure it out. They'll come up with some dumb rule that they don't have to explain, and Bayley will just be on Raw. Like, you can get more mileage out of this if you do. I didn't even think of Bayley losing. I just thought, like, they're just going to have 4 titles between them. I just think they're just going to have all these titles. The only title they don't have is the NXT women's title. I'm not convinced they don't get that at some point. One of them that gets that. And then, it just becomes a bigger jealousy thing. And you stretch it out, and we'll see where it goes. I think they're going to keep stretching this out, though. I don't know if it's going to make it all the way to Mania. I think they're going to keep stretching this out.
It's very interesting because the Extreme Rules match, Asuka Banks Raw title, is very wild card rule. And before you go crazy and block me, folks, wait for what I'm going to say. It's going to be great, and it's good programming for the next month. The issue with the wildcard rule wasn't what it produced as much as it was like what you're delaying. Because what's going on right now is there are people on Raw that need creative attention in the women's division. And they can like paper over those cracks and be like, how good was Asuka and Sasha Banks though, right? Like, amazing match. But it isn't actually going to help those. We haven't seen Bianca Belair in like 1 month, right? We haven't seen.
Main event. Watch main event, Joseph.
No, never. Shayna Baszler hasn't been seen in years, bless her. The problem is, it's like almost as great as the women are that are over. At some point, you're going to have to get new faces over because otherwise, it's going to be a rotating wheel of rematches. Like the idea that they have to do Nikki and Bayley is alarming to me in itself because I'm pretty sure Bayley beat Nikki in a title defense like 8 months ago. I'm not exaggerating. I think it was actually 8 months ago.
Bayley literally on commentary during that match is like, I've beaten all of these women. Like,
yes, she has. She really has. It's not even heel talk. Like, I think they haven't done her and Alexa for a while, but like no one wants to see them two wrestle again right now. Right? Like, it's just not. By the way, while we're on that, listen to me. Do not do a heel turn with Alexa and Nikki. If you do a turn with those two, just before you're going to do one with Bayley and Banks, I throw the towel in. I'm going to move on to a different podcast altogether where we talk about Yokozuna every week. Because I keep seeing all these. I'm very interested in terms of the long term. Like, we all agree this match is going to be great. Do the match. But you've got to be careful. You can't constantly go back to the things that you trust because eventually, like Becky Lynch is a perfect example, right? Like, you just slot Becky in or whatever you're going to do. Becky's now gone for a year or however long it'll be. So I'm fearful of them being too reliant on the same group, while in reality there are women that are waiting, and if they wait long enough, there's not even going to be anything left to wait for. Almost is, I think, my point. I think that's what I'm trying to say, but I'm not 100% sure.
This has been the thing of, all right, Becky's gone. Who do you replace her with? We're just gonna put Charlotte on all 3 shows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Charlotte, she wants to take time off. Who do you replace her with? We're going to put Sasha and Bayley on all 3 shows. Instead of actually, like you said, Bianca Belair is right there. We both think she is just a ready-made star. Mm-hmm. And they apparently don't see it. Shayna Baszler, Becky wanted to drop the title to Shayna Baszler. She said that on the Bellas podcast. She said, I wanted to lose to Shayna at WrestleMania. And they were like, no, we're not going to do that. Look, was that the right call? Was it the wrong call? Who knows? You know, in hindsight, maybe they should have done it because Becky was pregnant and off television anyway, but they didn't know that at the time. So she wanted to make Shayna, and they're like, no, we're not going to do that. You know, on the SmackDown side, it's a little bit dicier on the SmackDown side, but you have Mandy, you have Sonya. Everyone loves what Sonya's doing. Like, you can also elevate these women.
It is, like, you're right. Sonya especially, but it's also like they put themselves into these positions. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, don't put Bianca Belair on Raw and then 3 months later tell me there's nothing for her on Raw. I know you're not saying, but like, that's what happens too often. You have these conversations and someone will go to you, yeah, what would you do with her on Raw? Well, I wouldn't have put her on Raw. It's not my fault, you know what I mean? Like, or Baszler, whoever you want to do. I mean, I think Rhea Ripley.
Oh, God.
Like, to me, yeah, I know. But when they decided not to have Rhea win it back from Charlotte, to me, the play would be you run it back at next WrestleMania. And the idea is they're both main roster. Rhea wins the Rumble, whatever you do. And it's like, can she redeem herself? Right? That would be my take on it. I fear that what's actually going to happen is she's going to be in NXT for another 6 months. And she'll turn up with no plans of anything on the main roster. Like, I mean, the Liv Morgan thing. Like, she's on television and she's doing the thing with Ruby. And I'm sure that'll end up being fine. It's great to see Ruby on TV, even if... I mean, she's losing, but at least there's a reason for her to lose now, if that makes sense. Like, they're doing something at least. However, that is 100% them just being like, yeah, Liv's going to have to go do something else for a bit. We have nothing in singles. And again, we're not saying that's right or wrong. We're just saying it's frustrating, man. They've got to commit to someone at some point.
This is what they do. What their big idea for Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott is put them back together. Like, that's their big idea. Their big idea is just, we don't really have anything for them. let's just put them back together. Because hey, remember the Riot Squad guys? Hey, remember them? Like, let's just put them back together. They don't have an idea. Like, their idea is, let's just keep using the people. It's the same thing in the men's division. Like, let's just keep using the people we've always used and who got us to this point. Because where we're at now, things are obviously going great.
I'll say this much, by the way. It sounds like I think it all sucks. The core group of women, I find 10 times more interesting than the core group of men. So, I'm not saying these women ain't great at what they do. I'm just concerned about the long term. That's all. But yeah, you're correct. By the way, Ruby Riott, I don't know what the deal is. I don't understand why they don't give her any opportunity to even succeed or fail. She's just it's bizarre. I hope they give her something with some kind of to sink her teeth into in the next few years at the very least. But anyway, I've gone on too long about this, Jeremy. I'm sorry. I'm getting all passionate about wrestling again.
She's gonna be back with the Riot Squad and live more. That's what she can sink her teeth into. Riot Squad, Joseph. They cause havoc. They cause destruction. Did you not see that segment where they're like backstage and like tossing paper? Oh my! They were tossing papers, rioting backstage.
Yeah.
That's what they do, Joe. That's what they do. That's what the Riot Squad does, Joseph. They toss papers.
Was that better than when a few weeks ago, Liv Morgan won a match and they was like, what's next for you? And she was like, I don't know. Like most people my age, I just don't know. That was like the most Heyman thing ever. That was one of the only things that I would swear everything I own. I'd be like, yeah, that's Paul Heyman. Definitely. He was like, I'm going to write for the kids here, pal. I've got you covered. Don't worry. I don't know. Like everyone my age, I just don't know what's going to happen next. Amazing stuff.
NXT had Great American Bash night 1 last night. AEW had Fyter Fest night 1. Look, NXT is banned from this program. They're still banned. This is not an NXT program last night. This was a WCW show. We can all admit that. It was WCW Great American Bash. They did it last minute, last second to counter program. I'm for that, by the way. People are mad at me because they're like, well, what do you think? It's a ratings war, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, great. Do this stuff. I'm fine with MJF being like, it's a ratings war. I'm fine with Taz saying they run a sloppy shop. Do that stuff. Doesn't matter to me. Take shots at each other. Hope Tony Schiavone spoils the main event next week. Let's do it. Do it all.
I would give everything. Look, actually not Tony though, because I know it would be better because of the symbolism, but it legit took that man like 20 years to recover from what happened to him that day. So it's not make him do it. Jim Ross could do it.
Excalibur could do it. He's wearing a mask anyway. No one knows who he is.
True. Yeah, true. That's a good point. I'm with you though. There is nothing I hate more than the dialogue of like, just don't ever talk about each other. Like, just play nice, guys. It's only rest. No! I want punches being thrown across the battle lines. Come on, let's just have some fun with it. The only fun of these wrestling wars is the absolute nonsense that takes place between the two promotions, right? I don't care. I have no team in this fight, so I'm all for it. I'm Team Impact. Yeah, we have our own fights to be had, clearly. I guess, who's our rivals? The NWA? MLW. MLW.
Yeah, MLW. Oh. You guys are probably trying to steal somebody from MLW.
Yeah, 100%. Aggressively going after their talent. What did you ask me about? What was we talking about? Oh, yeah, Great American Bash and NXT. I thought, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I hate to say this because they're banned. I thought NXT had the better show last night.
WCW.
WCW had the better show last night. I'm much happy to say that. Yeah, let's do that. WCW had the better show last night. Congratulations to Eric Bischoff. I thought the match of the night was Lorcan and Timothy Thatcher. I thought that was just awesome. And maybe it's like a wrestling nerd thing. Maybe it wasn't actually good for like a casual person flicking back and forth. But man, I thought it was great. The main event was tremendous. AEW is, they're losing me, Jeremy. You know this. This. But I'm announcing it like it's news to you for the sake of the audience. But they're just... I really don't want to do this and pin it on one guy, man. But like, the Matt Hardy thing is like, I can draw a clear line. If you used to do like a chart on my interest in AEW, Matt Hardy's rival is like the big sink. I feel like nothing's interesting's going on. I don't really care about the Cody matches because I don't believe for a second he's going to lose any of them. Then protecting Hager is like, it does nothing for me. We're going to get into the proud and the powerful men that we love so much. Very frustrating. The only thing I liked on AEW, like actually really enjoyed, was the women's title match, which I think I was very happy to see that go as well as it did, because I think Penelope Ford has been a little bit like, she's always at ringside with Kip, right? That's where she's mostly seen. And I think so often I see people listing the women that have potential, Statlander, whoever it may be. She's very seldom been on those lists until now. I think there's, she's not obviously, look, she's got ways to go. She's raw, clearly. But there's something there. They have something there they can work on, and that's good. Shida is tremendous. She's so good as the kind of. I remember when she won the title, I was talking about it and saying like, she's perfect to build around because she can have good matches with any of them almost. So that was a positive step. The rest of the show, there's not a lot of hooks for me to kind of latch onto right now. I guess is my criticism.
I'm with you. People want to criticize the AEW women's division, and I think it's more of a talent issue than a booking issue right now, because Statlander's hurt, Baker's hurt, they can't get Riho over, over as in like into the country. So like they're kind of just left with Shida and Rose, and they put Penelope Ford in this position. I don't think they really had any intention to use her, at least this early. In this high-profile position, but she's delivered. All the credit in the world to her. I think Shida is tremendous as well. So I think the booking of the women have been fine. It's just they're using people who they probably weren't expecting, and Big Swole is there as well. They're using people they probably weren't expecting to use in these positions this quickly due to injuries and COVID. The rest of the show, like, I don't know. Like, let's get into the Proud and the Powerful thing, because we're both big fans of these two. They were legitimately considered like a top 3 tag team a year ago in Impact. It was like, all right, you got the Bucks in AEW, you got the Usos in WWE, and you've got Proud and Powerful in Impact. Like, those are the 3 kind of consensus. By this point, FTR, the Revival, had sort of fallen off. Everyone knew they were great, they just weren't being profiled. And like New Day and stuff. But really, they were big free agent signings. WWE was after them. Everybody, Impact made a big offer for them. AEW made a big offer. They came in, they laid waste to the Bucks and the Lucha Bros their first night. They should have been like right up the top immediately. They aligned with Jericho. It seemed like they were going that way. I can't tell you a single good thing they've done. Like, I'm sure they've had good matches. Like, the Young Bucks match was good, but like, dude, Santana is just losing to Matt Hardy. They're putting in singles matches and losing the singles matches. Like, fine, they're tag team wrestlers. They can lose some singles matches, but like, Matt Hardy, you can't have them beat Matt Hardy. Last night they lose to Private Party, and people are like, well, you can't have Private Party lose as well. Like, you need to heat them up. Don't book this then. Like, you've got other teams that you can book and have somebody win. And like, these guys are just kind of geeks on this show. And the whole Inner Circle sort of is. Like, what seemed like a dominant faction to start with, especially during the COVID era, like, they're just kind of dorks, and I don't have really any interest in them.
Yeah, I think there's a positive to be put with Jericho, clearly, right? Like, if you do believe there's a whole new audience watching AEW, then you're definitely helped by being with Jericho, because he's the most recognizable guy on the show, there or thereabouts, and you're next to him all the time. And I liked the idea of them being the vicious, dominant tag team of that faction. As you said, clearly that has not been the direction taken, right? Like, they initially were, considered top contenders or whatever when they had the match with the Bucks. I think they beat the Bucks on pay-per-view even at some point. I don't know. They had a long match with them anyway, and it was considered like a big match, is the point. Yeah. And they're not vicious, violent, dominant heels, right? They're funny, almost silly heel. I feel like I'm kind of being too critical of them. Like, they're doing what they're given, and their range is such they can pull this stuff off. I don't know. I'm almost at a point where I'm like, okay, have Jericho kick them out and have them as baby faces. Like, I've lost all interest in them in this particular role, because I think, and I've said this to you before, like, I think they're the most money team in AEW. I really believe this. I think someone pointed out Lucha Bros to me, and I'm actually with them. I think Lucha Bros are such a dynamic act, and their look, the whole deal, like, I could see that too. The Young Bucks are wonderful, man. The company is built on them and the others, but Santana and Ortiz are like, they can get over in a way that's different. I think there's no kind of there's no phony to them guys, right? Like, the promo segment that Santana did with Jim Ross is one of the best things on wrestling television this year. No one remembers it, because they haven't done anything with it. He lost one match, and the blind eye and all that business. To me, in my mind, I'm looking at babyface Santana and Ortiz versus FTR being like a main event program. To me, that's my view on it. Clearly, they have them in a totally different position, right? They don't even seem to see it that way. So I'm almost hesitant to be like, it just genuinely feels like a case of them just seeing them as lesser than I do. I don't know. Like, I can't fathom using the Natural Nightmares more efficiently than Proud and Powerful. I can't. Even the Best Friends. Trent's great. Chuck's cool. Like, I'm fine with that team. But to me, they're not Santana and Ortiz as a tag team. I just see pure money in them as a team. And I was happy to see them not go to WWE because I know that, like, WWE teams, that's not how they're treated, right? They're not a main event act. And that's fine. We've spoken about it a million times. AEW teams are. They just aren't one of them, from what I can tell. And that has been frustrating. I must say, it really has.
It's been disappointing, the way they've booked Santana and Ortiz, because they should be at the top of the, like, they lose the Private Party last night, and then we find out later on the winning team of that was going to get a tag team title shot. And so now you're going to headline night 2 of Fyter Fest. I think Jericho and Orange Cassidy will end up main eventing, but the co-main event will be Hangman and Omega against Private Party. Like, why couldn't you have done Santana and Ortiz in that spot? It's just very strange that that's the match you would want to go with. And I get you could even have Santana and Ortiz win that match because you're clearly building towards an Omega Hangman split. Like, you could have. It seems like you could have done something with it. Maybe they put the titles on Private Party. I think that would be a bad decision, but we'll see. And it feels like, all right, you got to do the turn. Everyone just kind of turns on Chris Jericho at some point, right? Like, that seems to be the logical end game here. I don't know when that's going to happen because I still think at some point they want to run Blood and Guts. And the only logical, I mean, I guess you can do, if Cody does his stable against the Elite, like, you can do that, but I don't know what they're gonna. The COVID thing is probably throwing a lot of plans out of whack.
Yeah.
But you could have still done something with Santana Ortiz in this pandemic if you really had those type of plans for him, and it just doesn't seem like they did, which is disappointing. And maybe this is a case of we overvalue them more than AEW does, and if that's the case, okay, fine. But like, you made this big play for them. You wanted to keep them away from NXT. You wanted to keep them away from Impact. Everyone knew how big of a deal this signing was, and they just haven't done anything with it.
Yeah, you're right. Like, that's the one thing with this, which is always interesting, is a lot of it does just boil down to the people that are making decisions don't see things the way we do, and that's like in both ways a lot of times, right? Like, that's the way it is, and I'm sure they have some kind of metric to decide who needs to be on the show and who doesn't, whatever, I don't care. But from my vantage point, I just think there's something incredibly special about Santana and Ortiz, and the way that they was able, when they went to Impact, they was able to just slot onto that TV show. They're like they've been on TV for years. They were the best thing on that show by miles, immediately almost. And when they're given opportunities to go a certain path, like, they nail it. Like, they did a great, I think they did it at the November pay-per-view AEW did, which named Full Gear?
Yeah, Full Gear. That was when they
I think it was that show. That was the show where they had that, like, cool vignette in New York. And I just remember watching it thinking, like, this is so much better than anything else on the show. And I'm not saying that as a knock on the rest of the show. I'm just saying there are wrestlers that act like wrestlers. And then there are people that are so authentic and believable, and you care about them. Them guys are rare. And to me, Santana Ortiz, especially Santana, I don't mean as a slight on Ortiz, I just think Santana has always had such a presence. They have that. And I fear that AEW is such a, like, AEW is almost like, we just showcase all of these cool wrestlers that we've signed. And at some point, I would like more of a hierarchy as to, like, which of these guys can actually get over? Beyond just, which of these guys can a WWE fan watch our show and say, those guys are as good as the guys I watch on the show I like? If that's still a thing wrestling fans do, I don't know. But that's just been my mindset, you know? Like, and I think they're those guys, but apparently they're not. Then it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
You know what the metric that they use to determine this stuff, Joseph.
I saw your face. I was like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. The ratings are coming.
For the first time in Distraction history, I believe, we have live, not totally live, since it's live for us, but people won't see this for 4 hours later. Here are the ratings for Wednesday night. Joseph, first off, who do you think won?
NXT.
Do you think they won viewership, demo, both?
Both. I'm going both. I'm going all in on WCW.
Wow.
I'm going all in.
All right. AEW drew a .29 in the demo. NXT drew a .22 in the demo. So AEW, once again, won the demo.
Big time.
Viewership. AEW 748. NXT 792.
Oh.
So NXT does win the viewership. So
wow.
I don't know what that means. Same thing as usual. Depending on which side you're on, you can spin it however you want. The real Wednesday Night Wars, the challenge, once again, dominates Guys Grocery Games.
Yes, I'm going to be honest. When we said we were going to do this on air, you was like, I'm not sure how much we're going to get out of that. And I thought, we'll get tons. And then when you read the numbers, I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to get nothing out of this. It's like, yeah, sure. They're both under 800. I would have liked to seen, I don't know. I think I thought Banks and Shirai was a bigger match than it probably is to like normal wrestling fans. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But I thought they would have won handily again. I guess they did, right? 40,000 in these numbers, that's big, right? I guess.
I'm gonna look at last week's. Everybody can go to Fightful.com and our resources section where we have the viewership week by week. So NXT was up. NXT did 786 last week to 792 this week, so slightly up. And AEW did 633 last week to 748 this week. So both programs were up. So, you know, what is it? Great news, everybody. 1.4 million people watched wrestling on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I hope. I definitely don't want either of these places overreacting to these dumb numbers. I mean, it's so not worth being that way about. But I do hope AEW realises that for once, Jeremy, we aren't alone here. I do sense people have less interest. Maybe it's the long gaps between actual pay-per-views. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But it feels like they need a jolt of some kind. And it's clearly not going to be a talent signing because the FTR signing did nothing for them, even though those guys are great. It's just like, it isn't that, right? They need an angle almost. They need something to capture people. Hopefully they can find it in the next few weeks.
I don't think any talent signing, like short of Roman Reigns or John Cena, is shifting anything. Honestly.
Wesley Blake?
Maybe Wesley Blake. I think you can group him in with Reigns and Cena. But, like, they brought in Matt Hardy and Brody Lee and FTR, and it's like, what did these guys actually
Brody Lee. I remember Brody Lee.
Yeah.
Brody Lee, he was good. He was the guy who was in the Wyatt family, right? Yeah. And he had a really good match at the pay-per-view, and we was like, back on track, Brody Lee. That was fun. I remember that.
Now his hand in paper is the Colt Cabana.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what their process is. I think they're missing the boat. To me, right now, I'm going to speak for myself here exclusively. I am desperate to really get into an alternative US promotion. When I say alternative, I literally just mean not WWE, because that is what the alternatives are, right? And with less, Impact's running, and they are running. I know they want to be the friendly alternative that's like, if you like wrestling already, you're going to love this show. I just wish they were more... They feel almost comfortable to me in that position. And I don't like that, Jeremy. I'm a Bischoff guy, you know that. This try to be better. That's all I would say. I think they need to strive to be more of an actual... I'm not saying competitor in terms of market share. I know that's like Mission Impossible at this point. I'm just saying, stand there, show up, and be like, this is as palatable for a normal human being as WWE's is, because WWE's is bad enough, but some of the stuff on AEW is so like I just wonder, the Matt Hardy stuff to me is so like it's like a minority of a minority audience, it's like, yeah, this is super cool. I really want to see Matt delve into his three faces at this point. Like, I don't know, I feel like they can be better. I feel like they need to strive to be better and not be so comfortable being like the friendly show where everyone has cool 12-minute matches on television. No, move on from that. This makes some moves now.
Honestly, like, that was my issue with Fyter Fest is, all right, there were some good matches, like, sure, you can get good matches anywhere, like, be incredible or be terrible, and it's a good show. I don't have an issue with a good show, but there's nothing that hooks me and makes me feel like, all right, this was something like you've got to go out of your way to see. and it's not there. Whatever it is, maybe I do think the lack of crowd hurts them.
100%. Yeah.
Because everything they did, and maybe it was because it was the honeymoon period, but like everything they did prior to the pandemic, crowd just went crazy. Like they could do no wrong in front of the live crowds. And so it made everything feel bigger, even if it really wasn't. And maybe because that's not there now, maybe we're judging it harshly of if this is in front of a live crowd and we see this live crowd eating it up, we think this is great as well. But because that element isn't there, we're just like, this just feels a little weak.
I agree. Yeah, like the good stuff feels less like epic. You know,
Yeah.
like it's like that was good, but with a crowd you'd rewatch it. Wow, you'd see it clicked around and stuff. I'm with you. I still enjoy the show, and they have good pieces to play with there. They have some good cards like in their hand. I almost feel the show needs more like concise direction. You know, like rather than just being like a, you know, this guy appears sometimes, that guy appears. Like just give me a more clear. Brody Lee was in the World Title match at last pay-per-view, and as you say, he's now doing like this angle with Cole, and it's like, sure. Like I just is he a big player in this promotion or not? You tell me, because you're the ones producing the show. You know, like it feels like muddied almost. That's what I would say. They've muddied the waters to the point where I don't know who stands where and why. There's just a lot of people that appear randomly every different week, which is my over. Like Jericho even is the top heel on the show, or is he like a comedy character that does color comedy, color commentary, not color comedy? That'd be a big challenge. Color commentary, like is he like a top heel that leaves baby faces laying, or is he just like a mix of all these different things? I don't know. I guess he can get away with it, but that's just an example, you know?
Yeah, he can, but then this is the
The
issue
rest
with
can't.
yeah, this is the issue with like the inner circle is like, all right, he can do it, but Santana and Ortiz, it doesn't work as well for like they're not as established. Jake
Exactly,
Hager, I don't think people want to see Jake Hager. Period.
No.
I'm sorry. It just I don't know.
Ross does. Jim Ross is pumped every time Jake Hager.
Jim
so
Ross
excited.
is very excited every time Jake Hager is on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. You know, NXT wins the viewership again. What does that mean? Probably nothing. But people, look, if you go on Twitter, it means everything. All right, people are gonna go crazy for that kind of stuff. All right, Joseph. Anything else we need to hit? We've gone way over time, everybody.
Really?
We were told to go home 17 minutes ago, and we just went right through that warning. We're going to get back to Gorilla. We're going to get yelled at. Segments are going to have to be cut now. People are going to be very angry with us, but this is what happens when you're the star. When you're the stars of the show, you can go over time.
Yeah, I mean, we only have like one more show before I leave for that other podcast, so we might as well just maximise our minutes here, pal. I mean, I have nothing to say other than I'm happy NXT won because now that means more WCW pay-per-views. Listen to me, whoever's watching this, I know they watch it in the office. Halloween Havoc needs to come back. And I'm not talking about like just get a banner and put an NXT logo across it. No. I want the full set to return, please. This is all I ask. I ask for nothing else other than all the other things I ask for every single week. But this is the one thing I'm asking for now. Give me that. I'm sorry we've gone over time. This is my fault, Jeremy. I'm going to take the hit on this one as the pro, the veteran, the grizzled vet. I should have just took it home. I should have. What did you ask me? Anything else? Nothing else. I have nothing else to add other than Halloween Havoc. But I think we made our point clear about Santana and Ortiz, and there are people watching this now that are like, I have never heard anyone speak of these two men in such detail as Joe and Jeremy just did. So we give two different. We haven't said their names in legitimately about like 10 episodes of the show, and then today we did a 30-minute segment just all about their struggles in AEW.
Look, if everyone watches the TEW series, which you should, you would know how big of fans we are of Santana and Ortiz. So you've got to watch all three of our programs to really get the full story. We're not like these other wrestling programs where it's like you can skip a week and you can skip months and understand what's still happening. No, if you miss one of the three shows, you're just completely lost. So watch the product, everybody. This is the longest running episodic weekly 3 television program podcast here on Fightful ever. I don't know if that's a thing, but
I mean, it is. Now you've said it, it is.
It is.
You need to go back and hear what you said, write it all down and put it on a t-shirt for me, please. That's what you need to do. Yeah, no, you're right. We have so many layers. Sometimes I get lost in the layers. I hope our audience can follow along. We are a very complex program. We do need some of our fans to start making like Twitter threads detailing the layers. and the subtleties that we bring out on this show. But anyway, we're over time. I'm going to have it.
No one do that. No one needs to have that much
don't.
time on their hands. What we need our fans to do is tweet Xavier Woods and tell him to let me write the up, up, down, down Uno oral history. All right, everybody? That's what I want you to do. Follow Joseph on Twitter at Joel Hulbert 5. He has a bunch of features coming out in the coming weeks leading up to Extreme Rules, the horror show. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Lambert 88. The Distraction TEW series this week has Judgment Day. Joseph is booking Judgment Day. Big show. Do you remember what's on this card, Joseph?
No.
Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns. Good job. That's
there's a big debut on that show, I believe.
Yes.
Tune in, folks.
Big
Very
leather
exciting.
jacket debut on that show. You can listen to our movie review of 12 Rounds 2 starring Randy Orton. Randy Orton still has an open invitation to come on our program to talk 12 Rounds 2. Next week, we're going to review Santa's Sleigh, starring Bill Goldberg, the legendary Bill Goldberg, who we buried on this program. We'll see how his acting is on Tuesday. Next Thursday, we will be joined by Blake Murphy of The Athletic. Not Wesley Blake, not Buddy Murphy. Blake Murphy of The Athletic. He covers the Toronto Raptors, Joseph's favorite team in the NBA. He will talk NBA and wrestling with us. He's a big wrestling fan, obviously very close with the NBA, covering that for The Athletic. He's going to join us to talk wrestling and preview the NBA since we love that way more than we do wrestling. So tune into that. Tune in Saturday to the TEW series, and we'll talk to everybody then.